Hello everybody, welcome to Classroom Kickstart 2019. My name is John Sowash. Thank you for joining me this evening. My goal is to equip you with new ideas and information about some Google product updates that you can use in your classroom this school year. We're going to spend a little bit of time together digging into tools like Google Forms, Classroom, Chromebooks, and more. Excited to take this little journey with you. Now, some of you may be familiar with me and my work. Some of you may be new. My name's John. I live in Michigan. I'm a former high school science teacher, former school administrator, and now I help schools use technology in meaningful ways. I work with Chromebooks, I've written a book, I do online courses, blogs, videos like this, all kinds of things, so glad to have you on board. Love to connect with you. You can reach out to me on all the socials. My handle is JRSowash on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then I run the Chromebook Classroom Facebook page as well, which some of you follow, and a lot of conversation happens over there also. Now, this video was actually pre-recorded. I recorded it yesterday in preparation for this webinar. I want to give you the best experience possible. Live is a little bit difficult with the technology, so I pre-recorded it, but I am live in the comments, and so throughout this webinar, if you have questions, drop them into the comments and I will be there responding. I'm also going to be posting the links that I mention in the slide deck. I'll be posting in the chat so you can access them a little bit easier. Now, this webinar is going to cover 8 big product updates from Google. This is the TLDR, too long didn't read version. So if you're not sure if this is going to be useful or not, this is what we're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to talk about some Google Classroom updates, 3 of them specifically. We're going to be talking about the new Rubric scoring feature, a new Gradebook update, and then I'll give you as much information as I know on the new Gradebook sync option. We'll also look at an update for Google Slides with audio. I have some updates with that. We looked at Google Forms, 2 updates there, locked quizzes with forms, and also the quiz import option, 2 very good updates. And then some new updates for Chromebooks as well. I'd like to introduce you to the Chromebook App Hub and also talk with you about Google Expeditions on Chromebooks. So that's where we're headed. That's what you can expect during this webinar. Now, for each of these 8 updates, I'm going to try to do 4 things for you. I'm going to tell you what that feature is, what it does, why you should care. We're going to talk about availability of these features. Not all of them are available right away. I'll tell you when you can expect them and how you can get early access to some of them. I'll do a quick demo to some of the features, those that I have access to and we can do a demo for. And then we'll wrap up each feature with some resources that you can use in your classroom, templates and ideas that hopefully will be very, very practical. Now, this webinar is sponsored of sorts by my online course, which is also called Classroom Kickstart. Now, my goal is to make this webinar very useful and practical for you. You don't have to sign up for my course to get value out of this webinar, but at some point I do have to pay the bills, and I do that, one way that I do that is through online courses like this. So I'll be sharing a little bit of info about the course throughout this webinar. I do have a special offer to make you aware of as well. I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll jump right into the content. If you are currently using Google Classroom or would like to use Google Classroom, this online course will be helpful for you. During this course, I not only help you set up your class, but I help you look through the strategy behind Google Classroom. Various assignment ideas, how to use your stream page effectively, how to ask better questions, how to do assessments, lots of lesson ideas. The course contains 39 in-depth videos that share not just setup tips, but also instructional strategies. There are more than 30 lesson ideas that you can have access to ready for your classroom. I've got tips for math teachers, tips for elementary teachers, science teachers, language arts teachers, everybody. We'll go over all the new features in detail. This webinar will give you an overview. The course goes very, very in-depth into each of the features that we'll talk about. And I am involved in the course personally. I'll answer questions, help you out with whatever questions pop up. The course is available immediately. Right now, you can sign up today and get immediate access. I use Google Classroom to teach the course, which in and of itself is an interesting experience. You'll be a student in Classroom, and that'll be a very a very good experience for you. It'll give you a lot of empathy for your students and kind of what they experience when they are in your course. This course, again, is for both beginners and experienced Google Classroom users. The course is regular price is $125, and that gives you lifetime access to the course and all of the material in it. You can register by credit card or purchase order. However, I am offering a special discount for everyone who is watching this webinar. The next 10 people who sign up for the course will receive a $25 discount. You'll be able to register for $99. First 10 are in, and then the price goes back up to $125. That deal begins right now. If you're interested in the course, you can head over to chrmbook.com/kickstart99, and that will give you the special $99 price. Once 10 people register, that will go back up to the regular $125 price. All right, sales pitch over. Let's jump into the content and take a look at these 8 awesome new updates for Google Classroom and other tools. Update number 1, rubric scoring in Google Classroom. Now, first of all, what does it do? Why should you care? Google Classroom in the past has only been able to handle point scores. You get 9 out of 10, 5 out of 5, things like that. This new feature allows you to do rubric grading, which is much better for growth mindset, holistic scoring, scoring that is designed for student growth. It's a very nice interface, very easy to use. Students will enjoy it. It really allows you to grade and regrade student assignments, again, to encourage their growth and mastery of a skill or topic. This feature is currently in beta testing. This is probably the most important thing of the whole webinar. If you do rubric scoring, if you feel that this would be a nice feature that you'd like to use in your classroom, you need to sign up for the beta access right now. They do add new beta testers all the time, so the sooner you apply, the better your chance that you'll get in and be able to have early access to this feature. I'll drop the link in the chat. You can also just go to chrm.tech/rubric-beta, and that'll take you to a Google form where you can sign up. You, as a teacher, you can sign up for this beta. This doesn't require admin approval or access. Anyone can sign up. It's really great. I have access. Many teachers do. We do not know when this feature will be widely available to everyone. So I would encourage you to sign up for the beta testing program if you're interested. Here's a quick screenshot. I'll jump in and do a live demo here in a second, but any assignment in Google Classroom will now have a little button that allows you to create a rubric to it. This will work for teachers and for students. One important note, this feature only works on the web version of Google Classroom right now. So if you use Classroom with iPads, through the iOS or Android app, students will not be able to see the rubric scoring. Now, you can use the web browser on an iPad and it will work, but not the mobile app at this time. That's why it's in beta. They're still developing it, so they're still working on it. Let me go ahead and jump into Classroom and actually show you this. We'll do a quick live demo. Now, one of my tips for using this rubric tool is I really recommend that you have a rubric in Google Docs or Google Sheets. Like, develop your rubric in one of those tools and then copy and paste it into Google Classroom. Classroom's not really set up to do a lot of editing and typing. You'll see here in a minute. So I created a rubric in Docs and I'm going to add it to Classroom. So I have a demo class that I set up for this. I've already gone ahead and typed up my assignment instructions. And for any assignment that you create, you will now have this rubric option right here. And so I'm going to click on that. It's partially completed. I'm going to go ahead and add some new things in. So this is the view version. I'm going to click on the snowman over on the right side and go to Edit. And I'm going to add a new criterion into this for my students. So I'm going to just duplicate that to make it easy. And I need to add this thesis statement. All right, so I'm just copying from the Google Doc. I'm going to go to Thesis, back to Classroom. The criterion is called Thesis Statement. And this is a 320 point, so I'm going to copy the first one. We'll paste it into description that describes the skill or the task that students must master. And then we'll copy number 2 and paste that in as well, change it to 2 points. And then I'm going to add a third one, which is 0, and that is for incomplete. That's the way you create a rubric in Classroom, and then you click these little plus buttons if you want to add a number in between. If you want to do 3, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 2, 1, you could add those. You can delete a level if you mess it up. You can add this description. This should be, did you identify the thesis statement in the article? Okay, so do that. Now I'm actually going to move this up on my list a little bit. We're going to move it up a few times, so I'm reordering my thesis. We'll put that at the very top. That's where I would like this. Move up. All right, so it's very important at the end you go down and click Save, and this is what the rubric will look like. Now students will actually see this option here, so they'll see like these 3 little boxes. So when you grade it, you click on one of the grades, they'll be able to see exactly what level they have earned, and then if they fix and resubmit, you can change their level. It's a very, very nice interface for students. I'm very impressed by this. The editing, certainly could have a little, it's a little funky. There's a lot of buttons and things hidden here. I hope they maybe clean this up, make it a little bit simpler to add rubrics. I would love an option where you could actually just import a rubric from Google Docs or maybe even Google Sheets. That would make a lot of sense. Columns and rows, and then import into Classroom. That would be really cool, because the editing interface in Classroom is okay, but I think could be improved. A couple final tips when we wrap this first update up. So your rubric is attached to an assignment. You cannot move a rubric to a new assignment, but if you want to reuse a rubric, you just reuse the post and the rubric comes with it. You would just change the assignment title and description, and you can reuse a rubric as many times as you want. So what I have done is I have actually saved all of my rubrics into a template class. And I just have a whole category called rubrics. I'll show it to you here. And those rubrics can be reused into my current course as often as I wish. So I have a close reading template, a thesis statement, evaluation rubric, a kind of a generic writing project rubric, and then I even have this funky single category emoji rubric. So this one will work for anything. It just has 5 different scores. And I can click on the one that best exemplifies what a student has accomplished. So there's a lot of potential ways to use this rubric feature. It's going to be an interesting process this year as we begin implementing this into our classrooms to see what the feedback is from the student. But I'm pretty pleased so far with what I see. Some tips for you to consider. Like I mentioned, number 1, I would really encourage you to create your rubric, refine it, get the wording the way you want it. Do that in Google Docs or Google Sheets. I think that'll be much better. Create blank assignments, so no description, no title, and then attach your rubric. That way you can just reuse it over and over again. You also want to make sure that you're using the web version of Classroom. The mobile version will not have the rubric feature yet. And then there's one final thing I forgot to mention. Let me jump back into Classroom and show you. There's this weird kind of double score thing that you need to be aware of. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to handle this yet. So when you create an assignment, that assignment might be worth 100 points. I think that's typically the point value. So this point value is not connected to the rubric point value. So it's weird because I can have an assignment worth 100 points and a rubric that's only worth 12 points. To avoid this confusing issue, there's 2 options. You could change the point value just back to 12 so that it matches, or if you just make the assignment ungraded, so there's no point value for this grade, it's just going to be the rubric score. Now that is going to have implications for your gradebook. The rubric score is not going to be added to the gradebook. So if you are using the Google Classroom Gradebook, we're going to talk about that right next. You'd want to make sure that the point value for your assignment matches the rubric score for your assignment. It won't update automatically. So just a little kind of strange thing to make you aware of. A few resources to provide you as well. As part of my Classroom Kickstart course, which I just mentioned, I do go into great depth about the rubric feature, some strategy behind it, and everyone who registers for the course will get access to my entire rubric library. So I have, I think, 4 rubrics right now. I'm developing more every day. I'll be adding those, and you get access to all those you can use in your own classroom as well. All right, let's move on to update number 2, the improved gradebook for Google Classroom. This is something that a few teachers did get access to last school year. I think it launched in the early spring, April, May. And so a few of you were able to see it and look at it. But this feature is now available to everyone right now. So if you go into your Google Classroom, you should see at the very top of your screen a Gradebook tab or Grades tab. And we'll take a look at this here in just a second and what it means. Classroom has always had a spot for grades, but there was no way to see a student's overall score. It didn't calculate the overall average for a student, and there wasn't any traditional kind of big over gradebook view where you could quickly enter grades and return work and things. And that's what Google Classroom has added. There are some important things that you will need to do this year as you set up your course to take advantage of this gradebook. Here's a quick screenshot of what I mean by the overall average. You can now display an average based on percentage, based on total points, or an average based on weighted categories. And I'll show you how to set those up in just a bit. This here really makes it so much easier for teachers to update grades during marking periods or right before marking period. You know, you can look at all the missing assignments and enter grades and fill those in. You can return work from a central place. You don't have to go to every single assignment to return the work. You can kind of do them all at once. Let me go ahead and jump into the gradebook and show you exactly what I mean. I'll go back to my demo class again. And at the top of my screen, I have the grades category. Now this class doesn't have any students, so it's going to be pretty empty. But the first thing I need to do is, and you'll have to do this for each of your classes, is go into your class settings, and you'll have a new section in the settings area called grade calculations. And it's important that you think through this and set this up prior to the start of your school year. By default, this is all off. So even though you have the new gradebook, you're not going to get any calculations until you configure this. So the first thing you'd want to do is decide if you want to display the overall grade. And you can do that by total points or category. I'll just do total points for now. And then you want to decide if you want to show that to your students. So you know, obviously, if you're showing grades, students are going to look at them and they're going to have questions. They're going to keep you accountable for updating those, making sure there's no mistakes. So by turning that on, you're displaying those grades to your students. Some of you may wish to set up grading categories. So you might do homework. You might do, you know, quizzes and tests. I'm a science teacher, so I might do, you know, labs. And you can set the default point value for that, which is kind of cool. So maybe my homework assignments are usually about 10 points, quizzes and tests are 25 points typically, and then my labs are like 50 points. Now I can go in and customize that each time, but I am always kind of annoyed in Google Classroom because every time you create an assignment, it's worth 100 points, which is a little extreme. So this allows you to customize it. Now, if you want to weight your grades by category, we're going to change the overall calculation to weight by category, and that will open up the percentages. So maybe homework is now worth 25% of the grade. Quizzes are worth 50% of the overall grade, and labs will be worth the remaining 25%. And it will actually calculate that based on those weights. You'll want to think through that and set that up. prior to the start of the school year. Decide how you wish to use that feature. Now this brings back into focus a question that teachers have been having for a long time, is what do we do about grades in Google Classroom? All of you have an official district gradebook that you must post your grades to. So you probably, if you decide to use this, most of you, that means you're going to be double entering. You're going to be entering grades into Google Classroom, and then you're going to be re-entering those grades into Power School or whatever gradebook you use. You'll have to make that decision. If you turn on the grade feature, it's very important, as you can imagine, that the grades reflected in Google Classroom are also reflected in your official school gradebook. Parents, the same thing. If you're using the Guardian summary, they're going to get updates on their students' grades. If those grades don't match the gradebook that they log into and view, you could have a problem on your hands. So several things to think about. You may decide that while this is good, it's not worth a hassle because of double entering your grades into two places. The rubric scoring feature is very nice because you can still give students a evaluation without it being an official numerical or letter grade that goes into the grade book. So they get the feedback in classroom, they get the actual grade in your official school grade book. That's one way to handle it. Now I've got a little bit more to say on this. We'll jump into that here in just a minute when we get to tip number 3. So a couple of tips to take advantage of this. We've kind of reviewed a few of them. Make sure that you review your gradebook settings both for new courses, and if you are already started the school year, make sure you go into those courses and review and update those as necessary. One neat thing that you can do, let me switch to a class that has students in it so I can show you this. This is pretty slick. So here's this is a fictional class that I have. So if I have an assignment that I'm ready to return, I can actually enter the grades right here. This is the amazing part, is how quick I can do this, especially right before the end of a quarter. So I can do that. Now I can also click return. So you click that snowman, you click return, or if I want to view the assignment, I can click view submissions. I can also go up to the top here and say return all, which is amazing. The fact that I can quickly return all assignments from the last week or month or quarter from one central screen is an amazing feature of this gradebook. So you could use this just by turning off the show grades to students option. You can still use the gradebook, and the students just won't be able to see their overall score if you decide to go that route. So that's one tip that I kind of learned. Don't forget to click on the snowman in the gradebook to see those return all features. Make sure you set up your calculations and look through those if you decide to use them. Now again, in my online course, Classroom Kickstart, I do go over all of this in great depth. I give you some insights into using the gradebook feature, and then I also have some really hopefully helpful tips that will help you speed up the process of creating your classes. So 7 essential settings for your course that you need to review before you add your students, and a quick way to make those settings consistent across all of your classes. So if you're interested, chrmbook.com/kickstart99 will get you started. Update number 3. This is a continuation of the gradebook. So we just went into a big, long discussion on should you use the gradebook feature of Classroom, because you also have to duplicate your grades in your school's official gradebook. Maybe not for long. Google has been working all summer on a new gradebook sync option that will connect Google Classroom to your school's official Google Gradebook. Sounds amazing. Don't get too excited quite yet. This is a very limited tool that only a few of you will be able to take advantage of. It is currently in beta. Your school administrator will need to sign up and configure this. This is not something that an individual teacher can do. The other major caveat to this whole thing is that only 2 gradebooks are currently supported: Infinite Campus and another one called Capita Sims, which I believe is popular in Europe. So unless your school uses Capita Sims or Infinite Campus, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this tool right now. Google has made it known that they do plan support for additional gradebooks in the future, but they have not announced what those gradebooks will be or when we can expect more titles to be added to the list. I will put the link to sign up for the beta program in the chat. You would need to send this to your school administrator, your IT director. There is a lot of behind-the-scenes things they need to do to make this all work. Now, we don't have a ton of information from Google, but we do have a couple of screenshots for this, so I'll let this play. Once this is set up by your administrator, you'll be able to link your Google Classroom to your Gradebook class, and then as you edit grades in the new Google Classroom Gradebook that we just talked about, if you change a student grade, in the top left corner of the Gradebook, you will see an option for sync, and that would push the grades to your school's official gradebook. I'm excited to see the development of this feature. Obviously, hopefully more gradebooks will be supported in the future, and we won't have to double enter our grades anymore. So again, here's some resources for this. There's a link for the beta test if you'd like to sign up. And then there is a pretty detailed frequently asked questions page that gives a little more insight into how it works and how it's set up. You can check out if you're interested. Update number 4, locked quizzes with Google Forms. This is another feature that has actually been around for quite a while. Google announced this feature over a year ago, but it has taken an incredibly long time to perfect it and roll it out to everyone. This feature will allow you to create a secure test or quiz using Google Forms. A lot of teachers have been very frustrated that when they give a quiz using Google Forms, students can open up new tabs, they can access Google Drive and look things up during a quiz or test. This feature locks down the student's device so that as soon as they start the quiz, all the tabs, all the apps, access to all other tools is locked during the duration of the quiz. This feature is available to everyone starting in August. Now, today is August 1st, and I'm recording this the day before. I don't actually know if Google means the first day of August, the last day of August, or sometime in the middle. So you're going to have to check and just kind of, you can pay attention to me on Twitter, Facebook. You'll probably hear about it as soon as it's officially rolled out. But August is all we officially know. Let's break this down a little bit further. A couple of major things that you need to know. Number one, this feature, locked quizzes, will only work on district-owned, district-managed Chromebooks. So if you teach with iPads, with MacBooks, with PCs, unfortunately, this feature will not be available to you. That's also the case if your students own their Chromebooks. If you're in like a BYOD environment and students are bringing a Chromebook into school that's owned by their family, locked quizzes will not work either. There's just some security settings that are only available on managed Chromebooks, which uses it. So I've done a lot of research on this. I've actually created a lot of content on this, which I'll share with you here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at how you can do this. I've got a Google form open right here. This is a form that I actually created years ago. It's a Chromebook quiz. To enable the locked mode, all you have to do is click on the fidget spinner, the gear in the top right corner of your form, and go to the Quizzes tab. And when it becomes available, you'll have this locked mode option. And all you have to do is check that box. That's it. One of the great news about this feature is that it is backwards compatible with all forms that you have previously created. So no need to recreate or make copies of your existing quizzes and tests. It's great. That's it. That's all you have to do. There is actually another way that you can do the same thing. It doesn't matter. Here inside of Google Classroom, I've created an assignment. I've attached my Google form to that assignment, and Classroom is actually going to prompt me with that same option. So you can see it allows me to turn on that locked quiz mode here inside of Classroom as well. Google Classroom is not required to use the locked quiz feature. If you are using Canvas or Edmodo or Schoology or Seesaw or any other learning management system, this will work just fine. You're just going to turn the feature on inside of the form, post the link to the forum in whatever tool you use, and you're off and running. You're good to go. So that's a nice option for everyone. So whether you use Classroom or not, you'll be able to take advantage of this feature in August sometime, hopefully early August. I know we've been waiting a long time for this particular feature. A couple of resources that you can check out. I have done a detailed blog post that really breaks this down. There are some additional things that you may be interested in. So if you have students with IEPs who need information read to them, or have accessibility features they need available during a test that will work, I have details in that blog post that you see there. I've also done a very detailed video overview, which has actual video of what it looks like for a student, what happens if they try to exit the locked quiz, if they try to access other materials, if they try to hack it. I've done it all, or tried to. And then I did a really interesting podcast episode with a teacher who is actually creating locked lessons using this feature. So they've taken it one step further, and they're actually helping students avoid distractions by creating entire lessons inside of Google Forms. So if you're interested in that, that's the Chromebook Classroom podcast. The link is there, and I'll also share it out in the chat. All right, let's keep moving forward here. Update number 5. This is another Google Forms feature. This is the Google Forms question import, which is pretty slick. This is a really overdue feature. Will really help your use of Forms. Connects very well with the locked quizzes that we just chatted about. You'll have a new button inside of Google Forms that allows you to import a question from existing forms. This feature is available right away. You have this option right now. All you have to do is look for this little import button in the toolbar. So you get that floating toolbar on the right side of Google Forms, right underneath the new question. And you'll just click that and select a form you want to pull in, and then select the questions that you wish to copy over. I've tested this quite a bit, and there's some really exciting things. There have been some add-ons that have done this in the past, but they were kind of slow, and there were some limitations to what those add-ons could import. It was mostly limited to just standard questions. This new import option will import images, video, and other design elements of your form. So imagine this: if you have a branched form, you can actually import those branches with all the settings for those questions. If you've created a very detailed multiple choice image form, which is very popular with elementary students with the little pictures and icons, this will import those as well. This new feature essentially allows you to create like a master form with dozens and dozens of questions, and then each school year create a quiz with a selection of those questions that you actually deliver to your students. So you don't have to have 10 different versions of a form and cobble it together. You just put all your questions into one master database and then pull them off. It also allows you to quickly replicate the format or the structure of a quiz or assessment, and then just change the questions. I know I've done that a few times. It doesn't just work for quizzes. You can actually do this with any Google form. So if you're doing parent surveys, permission slip surveys, if you're using Autocrat, doing fancy stuff, this is a great way to replicate and duplicate something that you've already created. Very excited about this, much overdue feature, and it's available right now. I have quite a few resources related to Google Forms that I'd like to share with you. My favorite one, I've worked very hard on this one, is I've created a list of 30 Google Form examples for the classroom. And there's everything from quizzes and tests to discipline referrals and field trip permission slips and observation for, like, literally everything. You can access that. You can see the link on your screen and download that if you're interested. You make copies of those. I do actually teach an online course on Google Forms. That course is not open right now. I do that in the winter, so you can register to be on the wait list if you're interested in really diving deep into Google Forms. Typically, that's January, February, I'll launch that course. And then I've done a very detailed webinar, some of you may have attended, on preventing cheating with Google Forms. Certainly we talk about locked quizzes, but some other strategies for creating a academically challenging Google Form test or quiz. And you can watch that full video if you're interested in that. Update number 6. This is one that many of you have been waiting years for. You can now insert audio files into Google Slides. No more workarounds and hacks and frustration. You can do it natively. Kind of. This is a great feature. However, it is not currently available to everyone. I don't know the backstory, but it appears that this feature has given Google a little bit more technical difficulty than they anticipated. This feature was announced in the spring, sometime in April, and you were able to sign up to be a beta tester. I did sign up, and so I do have access. I've been using this. However, I just looked at Google's blog post, and they updated their blog post as of July 24th, just last week, to indicate that they have paused the rollout of the audio feature because of some technical challenges. They have not provided an estimate when this will be launched to everyone. I would hope that it would be close, sometime in August, but I really have no idea. This is a marvelous feature. I have been using it with my own students quite a bit. It's super easy. You just go open up a slide presentation, you click the Insert menu, and right underneath Image and Video, you'll see the audio option. And you can just import an existing MP3 or WAV file. Now, it is important to know Google Slides will not record your audio. You will need to use some type of tool to create your audio recording. You save that recording to Google Drive, and then you insert it into your slide presentation. Now I'm going to give you some free tools that you can use to record audio. Very simple, very easy here in just a second. Another little thing that is not obvious, if you right-click on your audio file once you've inserted it into your slide presentation, and you click on Format Options, there are some neat abilities to adjust the volume and then also to configure it to automatically play and loop. So if you wanted to do background music or sound effects, you could configure that to play automatically. Very cool. So right-click, Format Options, you'll see the audio features there. My son actually did a project with this at the end of the school year. I had each of my kids pick their 5 favorite projects from the school year. We took pictures of those projects, inserted them into a Google slide presentation, which you can see here, and then I had him record a short 15-second audio clip and insert that into in each slide, kind of reflecting and say, this is what I did, this is what I learned, this is why we did this particular project. I'll link to that example so that you can see the audio clip feature in action. Here's some tips and tools for using this feature in your classroom. Like I mentioned, you cannot record your audio in slides, you have to record it elsewhere. Have to be MP3 or WAV files stored in Google Drive, and then you've got some formatting options if you right-click. Several tools for you. I've created a blog post with my favorite multimedia tools, including audio. So if you're interested in recording audio with your students, you can check out that blog post. Audio Recorder and Cloud Audio Recorder are my 2 favorite. Very simple, both free. They're great for clips under 10 minutes. I mean, honestly, you're probably looking at 60 seconds or less. Most of those should be very sufficient. I've also done a video review of some of those audio tools, which you can access. There's a link to my son's project if you'd like to kind of see what it actually looks like and how it works in action. And then, unfortunately, you need to follow and visit this official update page. This is the blog post from Google about this feature, which they just updated as of last week. Check back and see when that feature will be available to everyone. I hope, very, very soon. In my online course, Classroom Kickstart, I do share and discuss cool ways to use multimedia in the classroom. So my course, Classroom Kickstart, is not just about how to set up Google Classroom. It also goes into how to use Classroom to power cool projects that you can do with your students. I talk about working with images or using audio reflections for exit tickets and many other things. There's more than 30 lesson examples that are included with the course. You register for the course, you'll get access to my classroom, and you can copy all of those right directly into your own classroom and use with your students. If you're interested, again, first 10 people can register for $99. Just visit chrmbook.com/kickstart99. Update number 7, we're going to take a virtual field trip. Google Expeditions is a tool that's been around for quite a few years. You may be familiar with it as a virtual reality tool, and it is. But Google Expeditions is now compatible with Chromebooks. So you don't have to find phones or Google Cardboard or VR goggles for your students. You can take a virtual tour with your existing Chromebook devices. Now, there are a couple of nuances to this that you need to be aware of. This feature is available today, right now. I was actually exploring this just a few minutes ago. It works great. The only tricky part is that your Chromebooks will need to download the Android app for Google Expeditions. Most, but not all, Chromebooks are compatible with Android apps, and this feature must be enabled and turned on by your district administration. So you need to check to ensure A, is my Chromebook compatible, and B, has my school enabled the ability to even download and install and access Android apps. I expect more schools will begin enabling and trying and testing Android apps on Chromebooks this school year. It's kind of the first year that I am recommending that schools give it a shot. And Google Expeditions is a great thing to test out. Here's a little preview of what it looks like. So this is the Google Expeditions app running on my Chromebook. It's really cool to be able to see it on a big wide screen. I've gone ahead and selected a science expedition on the skin, some great ones for science that you can check out. There's a couple of ways that you can use this. You can actually now take a solo expedition. So you can take a group one where you as the teacher guide your students through an expedition, or you can have students do it by themselves. So that means it could be done as a station activity or an activity as part of a larger assignment. Like if I'm studying the human body, when you get to this lesson on the skin, you're going to explore the expedition, the tour that Google has provided. Google has also updated and added new tours. I was quite shocked, actually. There are approaching 1,000 different expeditions that you can take. It's pretty impressive. I think there's 957 is the official number. And there is an expedition for every imaginable topic: language arts, social studies, math, science, world language, everything. You can go in there and search. Now, if you really want to get into this, not only can you take a tour that someone else has created, there's a tool called Tour Builder that would allow your students to create your own tours that you could access and explore. So that's called Tour Builder. It's technically separate, and it's a different app than Expeditions, but has a similar experience. A couple of resources for you to check out. There's a link there that you can look at. This is the list of Android-compatible Chromebooks. You need to check to make sure that your Chromebook is on that list. There's a master Google spreadsheet of all 950 plus expeditions, a great way to kind of plan out your year, kind of see what's there, and pick maybe a few expeditions to incorporate into your curriculum during the school year. The link to download the Expeditions app from the Google Play Store, and then I've linked to the setup guide. You need to forward that to your IT person, and that will tell them how to enable the Android apps for your Chromebooks. Finally, I've linked to a virtual field trip lesson plan on my website. That's certainly something that could be easily incorporated into Google Classroom or whatever tool that you use. All right, we've come to the final update of this webinar. Update number 8. I'd like to introduce you to the Chromebook App Hub. This is a feature that I knew Google was working on, and I was playing with it a little bit this afternoon, and I'm impressed. It's actually pretty cool. Look forward to exploring it in more detail and also submitting some lessons to the App Hub. The Chromebook App Hub is a database of lesson ideas and resources that are connected to some of the most popular web-based tools, apps, and resources. So very familiar things like WeVideo, Soundtrap, Flipgrid, Screencastify, things that you're familiar with. So the whole point of the App Hub is to connect educators who have classroom ideas and tools that are compatible with Chromebooks, and to mash the two together to give you some inspiration for your own classroom. This is available today. You can browse through the App Hub immediately. It's filterable by grade level, subject, lesson, just so many different ways you can look for stuff. I have no idea how many, hundreds of different ideas and sources of inspiration in here. These lesson ideas have been submitted by Google certified trainers and educators. You can search, you can filter by many different categories, and each one has templates, video instructions, and recommended tools that you can use to accomplish these things. This is a great way that you can learn how to use Chromebooks for more than just Google Docs and math games and flashcards. This is something that I've been working to encourage educators to do. Look for creative ways to use Chromebooks in your classroom that go beyond just the typical kind of things that we've been doing for a while. Lots of great resources to help you get started. There's a few that I just pulled out here. Brain breaks, some examples of kinesthetic activities that you can do in your classroom, some 3D modeling activities with Tinkercad, and how to create digital stories using Tour Builder and some other map type resources. So that's the Chromebook App Hub. It's a great resource. Check it out. ChromebookAppHub.withgoogle.com is where you can find it. They are also looking for new ideas. So if you have a lesson that is compatible, works with Chromebooks, you can submit that. There's a Google form. It's just kind of a real basic one. You fill it out, and then they'll reach out to you and get more information about the lesson that you've submitted. So the link to that Google form is up there. If you have an idea, you should consider submitting it to the database. Now, I'm curious, that wraps up our updates, update number 8 there. Which of these 8 updates are you most excited about? Leave me a comment to this video, and let me know which one you're excited to explore in your classroom. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in there as well, and I'll be happy to jump in and answer, or someone else can also as well. I'd like to encourage you one last time to consider registering for my online course, Classroom Kickstart. Registration is open. Here's some of the things that some of my current and past students have been saying. Debbie is in the course right now. She said this course is really stepping me through the process of setting up and using Google Classroom for the upcoming school year. Jess took the course last year when I offered it. She said, this course is worth every penny. I was able to use Classroom so much more efficiently last school year. Thanks for those kind words. Love to work with you this school year as well. The offer still stands. The first 10 people to register will get in for $99. Head over to chrmbook.com/kickstart99 to take advantage. After that, the course price is back up to $125, and you're welcome to register there as well. Even if you're watching the recorded version, that offer is still available. I don't know if we've had 10 people yet, but if you're the 10th, you'd still get that $99 price. I would love to connect with you on the socials. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can converse with me there, ask questions, chat. Love to get some feedback. If you're doing some interesting things with any of the tools that I've mentioned, I'd love to hear about it, feature you in a blog post, a Facebook post, or maybe in my podcast. Reach out to me on one of those platforms and we can chat some more. I hope you have a wonderful school year, that you're able to take advantage of these new features to challenge and engage your students. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care.